Kyle's just a terrific footballer. He's a guy that knits things together in the midfield. He can play from a deep position and just keep the ball moving, or he demonstrated, particularly the last day of the Combine, that when he's put it into a more advanced position, he's a dangerous player. He strikes a great ball. He has a good idea of what's going on around him. His head is on a swivel, is the term that people use. He just looks around all the time. He understands where pressure's coming from. He's got great feet. The quality of his passing is very good. And I don't mean where he passes it. I mean the way in which he passes it. It's got the right weight on it. It's to the proper foot. He's just a very careful player on the field. He may have some challenges physically, and he's going to have to learn how to deal with that. He's never going to be the fastest player on the field, but I think he's got a very fast brain, and so he will figure that out. We'll get him stronger, but he's a guy that we think, has a good chance to help us this year.
And Emery?
Well, Emery is a terrific athlete. He's strong. He's fast. He gets behind people. He probably had more opportunities to score at the Combine than almost any other player. Emery needs to work on his finishing. He knows that. He told us that when we interviewed him, which was good, that he's self-aware. But he's a guy that I think could learn to play several different positions. He can play outside, and he can play as a forward. So we think that he'll also help us this year, particularly, potentially as a late game sub where we need to put pace on the field, and a guy that can stretch teams and get behind them. We think he's going to be very useful to us.
So you think they both can kind of contribute this year?
Yeah, I think, we'll see. And listen, the trick with the Combine and the draft is it's a successful draft if you do the things you were trying to do. Anybody that walks out of here and says it was successful because we know these guys are going to make it is just kidding you or kidding themselves. Sure. But we did accomplish what we wanted to accomplish. We do believe that these players each can provide some help to us this year, but that's going to be up to how they perform in training camp and in the preseason, how Ryan and the coaching staff look at them.
When we spoke yesterday on the phone, we were talking about Becker, and you seemed to have pretty serious doubts about his physical, whether he'll be able to adapt to the league, the speed of it.
I ordinarily in life I tell the truth,
right.
But when it comes to this, I don't usually tell the truth. So, we were really worried that somebody would try to move ahead of us and do a deal with either one or two. That was the biggest concern we had when we moved down to 4. So we wanted to make people think that they could relax a little bit and still potentially get him, because there was so much buzz about, Farrell and Zimmerman and Alvarez. But we wanted to try to protect ourselves just in case. So we weren't being entirely forthcoming, and for that I apologize.
No, fair enough. But those, just to be clear, those were the two guys that you kind of had?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't go down. We went down there thinking about Kyle for sure.
Okay.
We certainly were aware of Emery. I think our attitude about Emery, he's been on the West Coast, so we haven't gotten to see him play that much since he's been in college. The attitude about Emery was a little more, let's see how he does against, this elite group. And, he did very well. So, but when we sat down and talked the other day, at one point we said, look, if we have to use 3 and 4 and we leave here with Emery and Kyle, we'll be happy. We'll be pleased with that. The fact that we were able to, get 3 different pieces of allocation money and Kyle and Emery means that we had a good day.
Thank you. Congratulations.
How much of a factor did Kyle and Emery playing together for so many years figure into your decision?
Not so much. Obviously it's an advantage that they know each other well and that they know the city and they know the team. It's not an insignificant adjustment for these young men going to any city to start their professional careers. They're really on their own in a way that they weren't in college. To come to another, if it's an American kid coming to another country, it's even more disruptive. For these guys, it's going to be seamless. It's not a problem. So they should actually have an easier time transitioning than ordinarily they might. The fact that they know each other is terrific. The fact that they're comfortable with each other is terrific. So it was more, though, about their individual qualities.
Now, a lot of buzz on Twitter about what is Kevin Payne doing with all his allocation money. Would you open the window a little bit on that?
Well, as I said, allocation money is pretty fungible, so there's different ways we can use it. We certainly have the need to stretch our salary cap. We have some fairly big contracts that are guaranteed that we have to accommodate. We do definitely have our eye on some players from international players who might be designated player level, not big designated player level, but what we in the league call a small DP level, where we could actually use this allocation money and buy them down and just fit them on our cap without them having to be a DP. We have 3 DPs, so that's a big advantage to us. And then there's a number of other players that are, in the 150 or so range that this money will allow us to really seriously look at and try to add to our roster. So, in a sense, it just increases our salary cap by 20%.